Hello, product people. Welcome to the Product for Product podcast, hosted by Matt Green, data advocate and product manager, and Moshe product leader and author. Our goal is to serve the product community by helping you find products that can help make your work in product management easier. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Product for Product podcast.
Welcome back. On today's episode, we'll be discussing how the tool Balsamiq is used for UX, UI, and wireframing. We're happy to have Sufian Siddiqi on the show to talk about his experiences with Balsamiq. Sufian is the lead product manager at Lucid Motors. Welcome to the show, Sufian.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So we start usually with telling us about yourself, but I think that I want to hear also a bit about where you work, because it sounds a very exciting place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a product lead at Lucid Motors, based out here in the Bay Area. And we have a electric vehicle that just launched last year. And my team works on the in-vehicle experience set of products, which is really exciting.
That's awesome. Are these is Lucid Motors producing cars in the U.S. or is it?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. The manufacturing facility is based in Arizona.
Very nice. We'll look forward to seeing them on the road one day. That's awesome. That must be a very exciting opportunity to work on.
Absolutely.
Very
it's a great product.
Yeah, and it's actually nice to see that there is more companies coming out, competition for Tesla.
Yep.
And so that's also like I'm an EV driver myself. I don't have a Tesla, but it's always nice to see that there is more stuff coming out. Yeah, and to be a product manager in that space is like I'm sure you got lots of envy from other product managers or jealousy.
The idea of an EV, especially with like a Tesla, is like it's a piece of software these days, and the ability to build that software as a product manager must be really exciting. So
absolutely, yeah, and to see them roll down the roads and then the interactions with the customers that have them in hand has been really, really awesome. It's a great product to work with and work on, and really excited.
Nice. So we're here in this in this series for UX, UI, and wireframing, and we felt that this series cannot be completed without talking about Balsamiq.
Right.
So we actually had postponed ending the series because we wanted to chat with someone that is using Balsamiq. And when we chatted before, you mentioned that you are using them for many years, actually, since their beta version. So tell us a bit about how you started using them and a bit more about, why you use Balsamiq.
Sure. So it's been several years using Balsamiq, and it's just that the simplicity, ease of use is what has kept me using the tool. Several years ago, when I was actually at a different company. We were looking at how do we introduce the concept of user experience and design internally within the organization, but then also how do we kind of carry the concepts forward with the customer base. And when I came across Balsamiq, I found that to be a very easy tool to use. There was no ramp up really required because it was so simple, and it helped provide that really low fidelity kind of walkthrough that you can do with the customers and with your development teams to get them to understand what your vision was of the product without getting into details of how things are really supposed to look. And that's kind of the beauty of the tool that I really enjoyed, and I've been using it throughout the number of years in various different capacities as well, just to get that point across of okay, this is what the vision of the interaction is supposed to be, not so much the actual like the look and the feel of whatever we're building out.
That's great. Since you've seen it grow along the ways, has it maintained its focus on low fidelity wireframing? Has it kind of stayed with its core focus, or have you seen it grow and go into other things?
I think it's remained in that focus, which is awesome. And I've seen various versions of it. I haven't dabbled into their cloud instance just yet. I still have the desktop version. But I know that, they've embraced some of the newer things like sharing, collaboration, and whatnot using the cloud platform that they've built out.
And that's actually one of the things that we're looking into these type of applications, the collaboration between different product managers and designers, etc. So you're saying that they do have a cloud version that does allow for that.
Yes.
Now, one of the things, just to explain to our listeners who are not familiar with Balsamiq, I've used it many years ago, but I think that it's still the same paradigm, that it's only low fidelity. There is no really a UI design there. It's more about the wireframe. So it's really
absolutely
just wireframing, right? And it looks it looks like as if you're drawing something on a piece of paper.
Absolutely. Those napkin sketches are why I keep going back to this tool, right? It's just that really, really low fidelity, black and white. Well, no, you can introduce some color into it, but just the wireframe, and the other piece of the tool that I really enjoy is the interaction flows. So like you can build in some hotspots here and there to kind of navigate through. So if you were, let's say, what I've done in the past is I've actually built out a wireframe of a particular application that's clickable, and I've taken that for evaluation with some users as well, just to have them click through and see if, just from an interaction model perspective, if it made sense to them, or if they were able to easily find the information that I was trying to get them to find without any guidance. And that tool allows that when you're using the desktop application, but then also those hotspots carry over. So like you could export as a PDF, some basic functionality, and then those hotspots are retained within the PDF as well. So
oh wow,
I've used that in the past.
Yeah, so it does allow for that type of interaction, so users you can actually test it with some users.
Very
right?
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah, and this also came up in our episode about Figma, that sometimes when you have a product that it's so high, that allows for so much high fidelity, and if you the product manager using it, we talked with Queenie back then, and she started as a designer actually. So designers have that tendency to kind of skip the wireframing and go directly to the design.
Right.
And then when the users see that, they are bogged down by, the design itself rather than the user experience. So with Balsamiq, you kind of don't have that risk anymore because they don't have this functionality.
Absolutely. And, I've run into those situations myself in the past where when we tried to use something that's a little more high fidelity, whether it's the user or the customer, they get hung up over colors, shapes, sizes, and it kind of distracts from what your goal is in terms of trying to figure out if that just the high level idea makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we went back to using just the plain wireframes. It really helps speed up that process of defining what the interaction is supposed to look like, and then you can get into details of but now that we've finalized just the basics using the wireframe, and then we can get into details of how is it actually going to look.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you this: once you are done with a wireframe in Balsamiq, is there a way to export this and maybe import it to another system so a designer can start working on that, or they have to start from scratch in another system?
Actually, that's a good question. I don't know if the cloud instance of it has that sort of import capability. I remember that, they've got a file format that they use. I'm not sure if it can be imported into some of these other design tools. But what my experience in the past was just to take the Balsamiq file, and if everyone had a license to the tool, they could just open it up and quickly translate what the wireframe looked like. So I mean, the wireframes in Balsamiq are very, very basic, right? So you have your containers or your shapes, or rectangles, squares, what have you. It can be really easily translated into actual design assets.
Right, I see. Yeah, I mean that's also goes to some discussions we always have about whether it is one tool that does it all, or specific tools that are that have their own power in what they do very well, and then integrate it with other tools.
Yeah, it looks
So,
like it. I know Balsamiq integrates with Google Drive, so that's one of the integrations that
like to save the files.
To save the files, yeah, that's like a good intro level.
Yeah, but then that's why I was asking that question, whether you want to continue with the UI designs and you have to start from scratch, or there is a way somehow to bring those elements and beautify them, right?
Yep.
Which is an interesting thing. But I'm sure that there is pros and cons for every aspect of this. That's the nice thing about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So with Balsamiq, does it come with like a library of elements? And I don't know if there is anything special with designing software for a car, but that might be something I never done that. And I'm just a user of those cars, but I usually tend to buy low-end cars, so they're not very sophisticated. I have a Nissan Leaf that has some software in it, but nothing like a Tesla, or I'm sure your car, Lucid. So how do you find that with the Balsamiq?
Yeah, so to answer your first question, yeah, I mean, they do have a pretty good library of widgets or assets, right? So buttons, tables, containers, some basic shapes. Like if you were doing mobile design, so you can have a wireframed mobile phone that you can then build your particular wireframe within. And then it also allows you to create templates that you could just drag and drop into other files as you're working on them. So I think that's pretty good in terms of keeping it simple and being able to reuse some of the things that you've built out in the tool. To answer the question on the vehicle side, I mean, so there's the various screens that are in the vehicle, and then how the software kind of interacts with the user. That could all be built into Balsamiq. So at Lucid, we actually primarily use Figma with the design team. So Lucid is not really much of a Balsamiq place, but I still use the tool to at least get some initial discovery and kind of thoughts on the product areas out there, and then working with the UX UI team, they'll take it from there and then build it out in Figma.
I see. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's all about shapes. Like a square is a square, and the button is a button, and circle is a circle, right?
Yeah. There's something beautiful in the simplicity of it. I mean, just something simple and clean. And I always like to go with the keep it simple, stupid approach, and just make it.
Absolutely.
What are you trying to accomplish here? You don't need all the bells and whistles and colors all the time. So I like that. I really like that about it.
Yeah, and when we draw it on a piece of paper or on a napkin, like you said, we don't need templates or anything.
Yeah.
Free form, right?
Yes, that's right.
I can tell you my secret that maybe I mentioned it in one of the episodes before, is that years ago I would just use Paint, on Windows.
Yeah, that's right.
That would be my UX UI and PowerPoint.
Yep.
So I would take that will be also my UI design system.
That's it. Sometimes it's just a matter of just getting your thoughts down on paper in a visual way. and it sounds like Balsamiq is good at that. So I'm looking forward to using it. I haven't used it in my experience, but I was familiar with it in the sense that it integrates with Jira very well. And so kind of going back to the integration topic, are you integrating it with Jira or some other solution, backlog solution or ticketing solution to show your developers like, hey, this is what I'm thinking?
So not as of late. In the past, we did integrate with tools like Jira, just to have it kind of built out. So or writing out what those particular feature definition would be in user stories, and then include the wireframe as an example, just to get those initial discussions going, and then working with the UI UX team, of course, to beautify that.
Right. I remember seeing the button, the Balsamiq button, and it seems to have a very tight integration with Jira. So that's very cool.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I mentioned, I used Balsamiq in the past, and for some reason I didn't fall in love with it, and I'm not sure why. Maybe I didn't really understand back then. It was some time ago, so I didn't understand then the power of that. And then once I did, I already used other tools. That could be the case. But I definitely see a lot of value in a tool like that.
Right.
I for some reason back then I thought that other tools will take over, and will kind of push them out of the market. But they proved me wrong, so
Yeah.
that's good.
They certainly have a place. They have a place, it seems, because like kind of going back to your other point about Figma is sometimes PMs and analysts and other people kind of go to that high fidelity, kind of go there fast. Definitely seems to serve this group of people that definitely like to keep it simple, and I think that that's a good place for them.
Yeah.
And so maybe they found their spot, and like you're saying, that's what they do really well. So they're not trying to branch out.
And it's also a lot of the other tools were designed by designers, and designers, they love the high fidelity.
Yep.
And this one is really for UX. And UX, I met UX designers that they say, I'm not a good UI designer. I'm good at the UX, but I'm not a UI. Where mostly it's going the other way around, where UI designers become UX designer. But it's really two different disciplines almost.
That's true.
So with the tool like Balsamiq, you're really focusing on the UX without all the noise of the UI around it, which is kind of like we are repeating the message from before.
Yes.
Nice. Did you have any experience with the company itself? We are always asking about that. Is the company did you have to contact them for anything or for any problems, or did you see them implementing enhancements that people are looking for?
So they do have a community that they are very active in, and from the templates that I mentioned earlier. So you could import templates and use those, which is pretty good. My interactions with the company, not so much. It was mostly around getting the app up and running, where the license wasn't being picked up. But outside of that, it's been very smooth.
That's good. Taking that a step further, you seem to have a good experience with Balsamiq. What are three things that you really like about it? And then the opposite of that, what are three things that you would like to see improved?
Good question. So I think we kind of covered that in the chat so far. So the things I really, really enjoy about it are just the simplicity. The widget libraries is pretty good for all of the various containers or shapes or button text, what have you, that you would need typically in a very low fidelity wireframe are all there, and it's just a very quick drag and drop to make it happen, and you can just click on certain assets and fill out text, to kind of personalize or customize that a bit. And yeah, it was just how quick and easy it was to pick up. You don't really have to spend a lot of time with the tool to figure out how to use the majority of features. In terms of of words. I mean, I would say because I've primarily been using the desktop version. I didn't really get into the collaborative or the sharing as much. And like I mentioned, I have not dabbled into their cloud instance just yet. But that would have been my next thing that I wish that the tool had. But I think they've built that into the desktop app as well.
Okay.
Once they launched that cloud instance. So just that collaborative nature, working with the team, so you can do reviews, comments, or edits all within the same file, so to speak, which they've already released. So I can't really say that they don't have that anymore.
Yeah, something when I was looking at this before the show, they have Balsamiq Wireframing Academy, so they have some good documentation on their site about
Absolutely.
how to get up and running with wireframing. So if there's anybody out there looking to get up and running with how to do things, there's some good documents out there on their site.
Mhm.
I thought that was really cool too.
Yeah, like I said, it's very easy to pick up and start using, which was one of the reasons why I got into it, and I also recommend it out, to others.
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting actually that they have this academy because you would think it's really easy to start using that. So maybe it's more geared on specific use cases or stuff like that to jumpstart not just using the product but also creating your own designs or
Yep.
wireframes.
Yeah, they have courses
Right.
on intro to UI wireframing and UX wireframing and
Mhm.
design and stuff like that. I think it's really good, especially for people getting into product management, and it's good to get up and running with that kind of stuff. So it's good to see.
Yeah, perfect. No, that was a very cool discussion, and like I said in the beginning, I don't think that a series about wireframing is complete without talking about Balsamiq.
Yep.
So I'm very happy that you joined us this morning to talk about that, Sufian.
It was a pleasure. Thank you. This was a pretty good podcast. I actually started listening when I found out about it, to see what other tools are out there that I haven't had a chance to take a look at, and that I should take a look at. So the
That's very cool.
awesome series.
Thank you so much. And it's interesting. And just in the last 2 weeks, I had two different discussions with people that were looking for tools. One of them was for wireframing, and another one was for roadmaps. And I just go listen to the podcast.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But just that experience for Matt and I to talk with people about this product gave us a lot of insights or learning about what's out there. So we really enjoy doing that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining the show. Is there anywhere people can reach you best, or to learn more about you, learn about Balsamiq or Lucid Motors?
For me, I'm on Twitter, on LinkedIn. Lucid Motors, of course, is on all of the social media platforms, so you can check them out online. And Balsamiq, of course, is a little bit of everywhere, which is also awesome. That community that they've built out is pretty good.
Well, excellent. Again, thank you so much, Sufian and Moshe. Thank you, and to all the listeners, thank you for listening. And we'll talk to you next time.
Take care.
Thank you to all the listeners. We really appreciate the feedback and support. Please leave us a review to help others find the show on Apple or Spotify or anywhere else you're listening to the show.